I'm gonna show you guys how I break down and fish humps for summer lake trout. Now we're jigging, we're not trolling. That's the best way to target these really deep lakers. They're down anywhere between like 70 to 130 feet right now. That's as deep as I'm fishing. If you want to learn how to find humps, watch video 1 in the Lake Trout Summer Series. That's I'll leave a link for the whole playlist down below. That was video 1 for this year. As for right now, let's just get right into it. So I'm going to record my screen. I'm using Garmin LiveScope XR and normal 2D. So we are approaching a hump, and right now there's no wind, which is perfect. No wind is the best. If you are having wind, start on the far end of the wind, basically. If the wind's coming from the north, start on the south side of the hump and work your way up. Now we are approaching a hump that is about 70 feet on top. If you have ultra clear water, you do not want to approach, you do not want to just fly up and park right on top of the hump. You will scare those fish for the most part, especially if you have a really clear lake like a lot of the Canadian lakes. Right now we're on Champlain, it's just fairly clear. These fish get a lot of pressure. So I am going to ease up to the hump and try to find some fish before the hump. And what you're seeing there is mainly bait. So see how it's like nice faint little marks? What we want to see is more solid marks towards the bottom. So we're easing up onto this hump here. If we can find a secondary object on the hump, so the hump has, here's the hump, and if the hump has like a little flat on it, we want to go right to that flat. That's a secondary object. So primary is the hump, secondary is that little flat. They'll feed on that, they'll recongregate on that. Those things are crucial to success here. So we're gonna keep putting along until we find something that looks like at least a pair of lake trout. I try to go for at least 2. If it's a very sporadic lake where they're just kind of everywhere, if you see one, just drop on it. Best thing you can do. So I'm seeing bait kind of all over. And what happens, especially in this lake, is you'll see bait at a certain depth and then it'll just stop. Once it gets in the warmer water, it'll be either a different type of bait or something completely different. We're still climbing uphill here. Still in that 120. Now, humps are super productive during the summertime for a bunch of reasons. One, it's just structure. Lake trout will literally sit on top and kind of shoot out, eat bait, and then come right back. It's just something to orientate to, something to hide against. That right there is a giant school of bait right in front of me. Massive school of bait. So everything there from 70 to 100, that big blob, is all bait. Now I'm not seeing any lake trout right there. I guarantee they're right underneath it. So we're gonna stop right on the edge of those fish and drop down. Now, there's a couple issues with humps. One, if you're using 2D, you might not see them till the last minute because you're basically climbing up a mountain. Yep, so there's some lakers underneath them. And I have spot lock in the front. So how your boat is set up kind of matters. So I have just the remote to do spot lock. And there's no wind, but I'm gonna hit spot lock anyway. So there's a laker right there. And I'm gonna drop it down. So 2D's picking up all the bait, which is awesome. And I'm pretty sure there's a laker, oh, there is a laker right below. So see that right there? That's a laker right below the bait. And rarely will he come over to me. But see how he's diving down there? And we get another one coming up right to me right now. Got him. I mean, that's how productive humps can get. I mean, they were just not there. We found the bait pile and oh, he just came off. That was a bigger fish too. That's how productive humps can get. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So we want to ease up onto the hump. If we had just come zooming up on that hump right there, we would have spooked that school of bait, and those bunch of lakers down there they wouldn't have spooked, but they would have gone with the bait. So I'm not really seeing anything down there right now, but I don't need to. If you want lots of humps, oh, there's one right there. There's another one. Didn't see him on 2D. My 2D transducer is actually in the back of my boat, so I'm not jigging right on it, but I will show you how to do that here in a minute. Oh, he's off too. I'm relaxing my pressure because I'm talking too much. So a lot of humps will have rocks right on top. That's just kind of how they're made in glacier, because a lot of these lakes are glacier made because they have lake trout in them, kind of go hand in hand. So you won't see lake trout till the very last minute when you drop down. So always drop down right on top as a last resort. You'll see them, but you won't see them till the very last minute. They actually like hide right below the rocks, especially with 2D. They'll hide right in there and you won't be able to see them. So always drop down. They're just very high percentage areas. Obviously this bait's hanging out right on the ledge here. Oh, I'm not losing that one. You want to keep that nice arc in the rod here. Be able to show you guys a fish here. That was a nice one too. That's probably why I dropped the other two. They were small. They'll actually grab the side of the bait and not get the hook in them. I'm using a rubberized net like I always do. As soon as they hit the net, you can wet your hands. Jigs out, fish is out, back in. I have a fish right below me. Got him. I mean, these are a couple of minutes apart, not even. Seems like a little bit bigger of a fish. Using a 3,000 size reel, 15-pound braid, and a 15-pound leader. That's a nice healthy one. Hook's already out. Even with all that pressure and setting that hook so many times. Nice, pretty, wild fish. Pretty burping. Going right back in. And what we're using is the 1 ounce shad style hook. It's a 6/0 hook, heavy duty, and a 6-inch glow grub tail. So this is glow in the dark chartreuse. Hopefully you guys can see that. Glows. Someone just told me it glows for over 6 hours. It's still glowing in their basement after a day of fishing. I sell these on my website at benditfish.com. If you guys find this video helpful, go check that out. And I'm going to tell you a couple more secret tips about fishing humps. Now, one of the tips was make sure that you fish those secondary. I just kind of got lucky here. I fished this hump probably 3 years ago, and there wasn't any bait on it. Right now, there's a bunch of bait on it, so these fish are absolutely juiced up. They just want to eat, right? Which is nice. The other thing is one of the issues with humps is there's only so many seats on a hump. And what I mean by that is, imagine this hump, right? This big structure. There's only so many lake trout that it can support before they start fighting with each other, or a big lake trout moves in and kind of pushes them off. I've actually seen a big lake trout kind of control just that whole entire hump and not let anything kind of around it. So that is as an advantage and a disadvantage. The disadvantage is you can catch 5 to 10 fish on a hump and it might not reload, and it might just be you burn those fish, you caught those fish, you got to go to another hump. So a lot of times ice fishing and open water fishing, I will just run from hump to hump to hump to hump. And like I said, if you want to learn how to do that real quick, go visit video 1, watch that, and then come back to this one, and I'll show you guys some more tips and tricks here on how to fish humps, because they are my favorite. And if you're just rocking 2D transducer, that 2D cone that's shooting down, if you're parked right on top of the hump, you get a nice clear image, except for when there's big rocks. So the disadvantage is you could burn the spot real quick. The advantage is bait's usually kind of around it. So if you just show up and put a jig right in front of their face, they want to hammer it almost immediately. They're very aggressive. Now, all these techniques work on all the lakes that I fish. Some of the lakes I fish don't have humps, which is sad, because then you have to scout for structure. And in that first video that I was teaching you guys how to find structure, or what baits where to fish, we just got lucky there was 2 types of structure here. Bait was one, or hump was one, bait was on that, and it's just really, really good. If you don't have spot lock like I do, so I have a trolling motor that's GPS anchoring me here, even though there's no wind, what you can do is buy one of these, which is the original GPS anchor. This is a marker buoy, so this has a bunch of lead on it. This one's actually double the length and double the lead for fishing for lake trout. So I bought a 3-pack of these, and what you do is you throw this overboard and this unravels and hits the bottom. I'm not going to do it because it takes forever to reel back up. Hits the bottom, and that marks your spot. So if there is wind, you can mark the top of the hump, and you know that you're in the general area, so you don't have to keep looking at your navionics on your phone because the GPS is just not accurate. It's accurate on the phone, but the updating is not as live. So I'll leave the link for one of those down below. It is old school. If you don't have spot lock as well, you can back troll and hold yourself on that, or anchor, or drift fish with a heavier jig. Right now I'm fishing with a 1 ounce. I probably don't even need spot lock. It's only kicking on every once in a while, so I actually wish there was a little bit of wind because it's hot. So we have not seen fish in a minute. So what we're going to do is called a micro move. And I want you guys to notice that unless I'm trying to make noise, I never let my jig hit bottom. It's unnatural. A lot of these bait fish are not bottom orientated. I got another one coming up to me right now. Start recording 119. And here he comes. Oh, he sniped it. He was so angry. Here he comes the second time. Just a little guy. Just a little guy. Just a little guy. I mean, absolutely juiced, folks. Been using the same swim bait and grub, same hook and grub all day long. All the paint's almost powder coated. Almost all the paint is worn off. This fish is a little bit bigger, but he didn't burp until he got towards the surface. So I'm letting him run. And still see how the rod is loaded? And the drag is going. Just putting that up to my microphone. All right, see how he's stopping? Drag, he just took a 35-foot run. And it's weird, not all of them run, even the big ones, sometimes they just don't run. They just use their dead weight and they just kick, 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 kick. And don't want to run for some reason. I'm running a pretty long leader just because this lake is pretty clear. Not a giant, but a big fish. Just another beauty. Going back in. So we will continue to move around this hump and just micro move. This is the same thing as fan casting. All we're doing is we're doing it with the boat. We're just making micro movements around the hump, whether we're on the side of the hump, whether we're on the top of the hump. I like to start on the edge. If I had plenty of time and I was searching for one big fish, I would literally peruse the whole perimeter and kind of like work my way up with live scope. I can kind of just park it on my left side and kind of scope it all the way around. Yeah, so we'll just continue to scope, continue to putt around. We don't want to burn those humps. That being said, there's another trick. I won't show you now because I don't really need to do it. If you're not seeing fish for a while and you know it's a good spot, fire up your engine in neutral or take yourself off spot lock, bring the trolling motor up, and just run donuts on top of the hump. That just literally creates noise. Or just rev this. Actually, you know what? I'll do it. I'll do it. And since I'm a tiller, I don't need to do anything. And all this does is make noise in the area. And lake trout are super addicted to noise. They think something's happening. They think they're missing out. They have severe FOMO. They think they're missing out on a feeding frenzy, and they'll come running. And it works. It just really works. They can hear that from, I don't know, probably a mile away. You know, snorkel in the pool or snorkel in the lake and you can hear boats go by, they can hear that for sure. 5, here comes a fish. He's coming actually from behind me. Always check your drag. Now he's looking for me to run. He's like, is that something I want to eat? Is it acting normal? Slow it down a little bit, very lethargic. And he didn't want to eat it, very last second. That's okay. Or he might have just eaten it on the way down. So you got a high flyer there to the left. So that, as soon as that fish sees me, it's all over. Watch. 3, 2, 1. Told you. High flyers are just up there roaming around looking for bait. So if they see any stragglers, if they see anything like that, it is dead. It's just dead. Oh, it's a freaking monster too. I'm gonna let him try to burn some energy off here before he comes in the boat too green. Nice, beautiful fish. Beautiful. Flop. Nice chunkosaurus. Nice chunk. So that's exactly how I would fish humps. Start at the bottom, put your 2D scan on, ease your way up to the hump, have your trolling motor down, get ready to hit spot lock if it's windy out. If not, just kind of coast on it. I try to use as heavy a jig as possible. Right now I'm using a 1 ounce. I'm about to start selling a 2 ounce, but the 1 ounce works great. It's just enough to sink down on the bottom and have them hit it on the way down. Work your way up, use that 2D scan, and then kind of park right on top. Even if you don't see them on there, drop down because they might be there. The other thing is if you can find a secondary location. So right now we're on the hump and then there's a little tiny flat on that side of the hump. I stopped there first, jigged there for a little while, caught a bunch, and then moved to the top of the hump where I am right now. And yeah, it's just super fun catching lake trout. So if you guys learned something, comment below. And if you guys want to see more lake trout videos, click here. This is the whole Summer Lake Trout Series. We're going to do a whole bunch of videos this summer about how to catch lake trout, where to catch lake trout, what to catch them on, all that jazz. I got a fish coming up right now. And all that stuff. And it's just super fun. If you want to come to Lake Champlain, come to Lake Champlain. If you want to come to New Hampshire and be guided by me, go right ahead. Send me an email down below. And if you want to support the channel, visit benditfish.com to buy some baits that we're using here in the video. And I'll see you on one of those next videos.